Class is dismissed, boys and girls.
You're in. Let's go!
Previously on the YTV Retrospective.
I'm Milo DeVenus, your class president. Welcome to Galaxy High.
Check this out. Everybody. Check it out.
During my younger years, I woke up to watch Saturday morning cartoons, but sometimes I woke up too early. You wake up at 6, but the good stuff doesn't start until 8. As I skimmed through the channels, I noticed CTV had a formula with their Saturday morning offerings at this point in time. The first was a show by the name of Owl TV, a show that discussed nature and animals as it was based on Owl magazine. Also had a pretty cool intro by young Cree Summer. The second was a puppet show that was teaching lessons from the Bible without directly acknowledging it. This show was called Kingdom Adventure. The third was a really limited animated series about a girl and an alien called Katie and Orby, which was narrated by Leslie Nielsen.
Katie and Orby had to run out of the room and giggle because the secret that they were keeping was that they were planning a big surprise party for Dad.
The fourth is the one that we will be talking about today, and this one is a staple, a Canadian institution, and it all centered around a dog. You know, man's best friend, one of the most reliable animals in the domestic animal kingdom. Aside from monkeys and apes, dogs are phenomenal actors. America had the escapades of a border collie by the name of Lassie, but Canada had its very own, a German Shepherd traveling on the road without end. My friends, today we're talking about the legacy of the Littlest Hobo.
Traveling around from town to town.
So what is the Littlest Hobo? This is probably going to be the easiest show that I can explain because it has a very simple premise. The show is about a dog with no name, no owner, and no home to go back to, traveling aboard freight trains or roaming the countryside, all the while finding people that are in their own predicament of troubles. A prospector lost in the desert with an injury, a humble banker that isn't promoted by his bank despite being good at his job, so he tries to rob a bank, or a hobo that wants to save a few plow horses from slaughter, in which those horses would save a bus of children from a flash flood. The Littlest Hobo would help these people get the help they need or veer them towards the right path. The dog never stays in one spot and carries on to his next destination, wherever that may be. This episodic series had its origins as a movie back in 1958, distributed by Allied Artists. The movie was about the hobo helping a lamb escape a slaughterhouse, all the while helping a young girl learn how to walk after she was paralyzed. The movie was the directorial debut of Charles R. Rondeau, whom have directed episodes for shows like Get Smart, Gunsmoke, Bonanza, 77 Sunset Strip, and many more. But his eventual claim to fame was directing 44 episodes of the comedy anthology series Love American Style. He would work with former minor league baseball player and dog trainer Charles Paul Eisenman. After serving as part of the US Army as a second lieutenant between 1942 to 1945, he would return to baseball. One night while he was at a nightclub, he decided to buy a dog, naming him after his post that he had in the army, London. Many say that he is a German Shepherd, but in actuality, he's a Tamascan, a hybrid of German Shepherd and either a Siberian Husky or Siberian Malamute. You can kind of see it from a distance. German Shepherds have orange coloring with black masking. A Tamascan is much closer in design to that of a wolf, more grays and whites compared to oranges. The original intention for London was for him to be a watchdog, but Chuck saw something else in him, and decided to put him into acting, teaching London many things, including how to read, count, and understand many words. For example, London could understand a word in different languages, can differentiate colors, or can agree or decline entirely from their assessment of potential hazards. At first started to perform tricks at baseball games, until he pushed an umpire after a conflict, gaining popularity from the incident. Unfortunately, in 1957, London was injured by a delivery truck, leading to a lawsuit by Charles of $35,000, in which he won in 1961. However, it did debilitate London in some capacity, with an injured leg and a bumped head. London is the dog that starred as the Littlest Hobo in the movie. However, for the original series, London, along with a few of his offspring, named Toto, Littlest, or Lil London, and Thorn, would switch as the main role. London would retire from acting in 1966, and pass away at the age of 17. The movie itself would see a moderate success, and would get a TV series in syndication from 1963 to 1965, with 2 seasons and 61 episodes. Much of the filming of this iteration was done in Vancouver, BC, and surrounding areas, including Princeton. This iteration does have a DVD release, with only 12 episodes of the series, with a mix of black and white episodes and color episodes. But this one is probably not the one you're more familiar with.
There's a voice that keeps on calling me down the road.
In 1979, the series was rebooted and would air on CTV, this time changing tack from film reels to this newfangled thing called videotape, or a VTR. God, these need to make a comeback. It's been teased for years. If the music cassette could do it, why not the VHS? You can definitely see the difference from a mile away. A lot of Vaseline was used on these cameras, but the premise is the same, bringing the hobo into new situations. A woman seeking help for her injured husband, but can't progress any further as she is close to giving birth. A small town forest ranger that needs help when it comes to the prevention of animal trapping after a forest fire. And a young boy in a wheelchair brings the hobo into a frisbee throwing competition to prove to his overprotective father that he is capable of doing things despite his disability. There are a lot of two-parters in this episodic series that do escalate the situation. You would think that this would be a good point for a backstory for the hobo, right? But no. However, there is one exception. In the Season 5 two-parter, the Genesis tapes, there was information about the hobo that was researched on by scientists, potentially seeing him as a superior canine. However, the hobo destroys the evidence as it potentially did not want his origins to be known. Filming location was different as well, not just in BC, but we got locations across the province of Ontario. And it's not just the big cities like Toronto and at attractions like Canada's Wonderland. A lot more rural regions were chosen as well, like Stouffville, Orillia, and many more. Lots of running along farm fields and county roads. Gives the show a local feel that I don't see that often nowadays. The show's main role was given to one of Eisenman's dogs named Bo. However, on screen was called London, to honor the original hobo. Many guest stars would get the spotlight in this iteration. Leslie Nielsen.
But, Mr. Mayor, isn't it true that you and Mrs. Penelope Conrad were once sweethearts?
Now, listen, son. You go around making irresponsible statements like that, and I can find a place for you in the city jail.
Abe Vigoda.
I'll send a locksmith over tonight as soon as I move the truck out of here. It's going to take a couple of hours anyway, so you might as well postpone the painting.
Today's specials Nareed Virgin.
Hey, good stuff, Willie. Boy, Buddy here is more like an assistant coach than a mascot, isn't he?
Yeah, he's okay.
When does the cast come off?
This week.
Oh, great. Do we ever need you? Come on, it's time to stow the gear and lock up.
Clarence Williams III.
All I'm asking you to do is keep the dog overnight. I mean, even if Chris only has him for a couple of days, I think it'll do him a world of good.
The King of Kensington himself, Al Waxman.
I'm trapped down here! You wanted the bird? It's yours if you can get it!
A young Mike Myers.
Oh, no. Well, we'll get it later. Good thing I brought another one along.
And many, many more. But I think the thing that's the most memorable in everyone's mind is the theme song.
Maybe tomorrow I'll want to settle down. Until tomorrow I'll just keep moving on.
Maybe Tomorrow by Terry Bush. One of the most optimistic songs I have ever heard. A good song for a nice day of traveling. At first, Terry was doing jingles for commercials for the Eaton Center and Canada Dry, before he became the writer for the theme to The Littlest Hobo. It's funny considering that CTV originally rejected the song a few times at first, until giving the approval and became part of Canada's musical identity.
Just keep moving on.
The series would air from 1979 to 1985, with a grand total of 6 seasons and 114 episodes. It was produced by Glen Warren Productions, a subsidiary of CTV's flagship station, CFTO, in Toronto. A DVD of the first 2 seasons would be released. It would only be released in the UK. Surprisingly, there's barely a physical media release of this series in Canada, with the exception of the three-parter Spirit of Thunder Rock, getting a VHS release. Kind of like how another Canadian classic, The Beachcombers, has not had any physical release despite reruns still being shown on APTN, and has a little bit of a streaming presence. Reruns would begin for the series in 1987 on CTV and its local affiliates.
Boy, you sure got a nose for trouble. You're real Bond. James Bond.
You're only a dog. Aren't you?
He's a special canine with a soft spot for human nature. With the freedom of the road, the littlest hobo treks onto adventure here on CTV.
And would be spread around, including YTV during the early 90s. In the US, it would air in syndication. In the UK, it would air on the BBC for its first few seasons, then move to ITV and its local affiliates, even getting a Japanese dub.
Sayonara, smoke.
Mostly in primetime on CTV, but that would change over the years, including those aforementioned Saturday mornings. And would keep going, and going, and going, and going, and going, until 2012. A 25-year run. But then in 2023, after over a decade, it came back. First being added to CTV's Throwback app for a short time, and then its return to TV. It's 2025, and I'm still seeing reruns of The Littlest Hobo on local CTV stations in the early mornings. That is wild. So, why has this show been rerun for so long? Well, there's several reasons behind it. Those 114 episodes are a prime amount for syndication. Usually it's between 60 and 90. But this would do even better. That way, you can run these episodes for a long period of time. If you are showing 1 or 2 episodes a day, it will take you several months to go through them all. The episodic format of the series is very welcoming to newcomers. It might not be a show that's meant to be binge-watched, as it was airing a new episode each week at the time. It's like watching an episode of, say, Inspector Gadget. As you watch one episode, you have a fun time watching the shenanigans of the clumsy inspector, his niece, and their dog, but after watching several in one sitting, you see a formula to it that becomes pretty repetitive. While there is a formula to each episode, there's enough variety that you probably wouldn't notice. And 3, it's a pretty good drama series, having enough drama and action in 1/2 hour that it could be seen as a mini soap opera. Remember the episode about the kid in the wheelchair? Well, there's a reason why his father is overprotective. See, his family was hurt in a car crash, leaving his son paralyzed and his wife dead. The cause of the crash might have been the hobo, as he was on the road. Hence why he doesn't trust the dog. It wouldn't be until the hobo saves the boy from oncoming traffic that he accepts him. See? That's pretty good drama. It is a fixture in Canadian culture, being mentioned by the likes of TSN,
Maybe tomorrow.
I can't stay mad at you.
the Trailer Park Boys, including a somber yet depressing cover of Maybe Tomorrow by Nightingale Cummings,
And maybe tomorrow, my God will help me settle down. But it ain't tomorrow, so I guess I'll keep moving on.
and a whole subplot in an episode of CTV original Corner Gas, where Hank thinks he sees the hobo, but everyone thinks he's crazy.
Lily, you're just spreading it! Yeah! Hobo! Where are you going?
Until the end of the episode, when Maybe Tomorrow starts playing with the hobo running across the countryside of Saskatoon. It's a Canadian classic that just keeps moving on. In fact, in this year of 2025, fans have pushed to have the show and Maybe Tomorrow as part of the Canada Walk of Fame. Until tomorrow, the whole world is this show's home. When we come back, things are going to get a little gross.
Next time on the YTV Retrospective.
Who says grossology is gross? It's about fighting crime with science and maps and sometimes 3D glasses. But just being called grossology doesn't make it gross.
Gesundheit. Uh-oh.
That's not phlegm he's spraying, that's science. Don't worry, people. It's just science.
I'm all right. I'm okay.
No, you're not. You're gross.
Ew.
Yeah, ew. Grossology, today at 12:30.
Check this out.